Now it's time for your favorite U.S. Report regular, former White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney. Mick, thanks so much for joining us here, and it was great to catch up in Washington. Now, I want to talk about the Mar-a-Lago case. It turns out that all that talk that Trump had nuclear secrets stored in his basement were nonsense. Now, should we be surprised that this raid was, as we thought and talked about on this show, looking more and more like a political hit job by the FBI?
I mean, yeah, you and I talked about this, James. By the way, it's great to see you. It must be South Carolina night. It was great to see Nancy Mace, who lives just down the road from me a little bit. But yeah, I mean, we've talked about this before. The Washington Post, I think, ran a story saying that the documents could contain nuclear secrets. What that means is that they called somebody and asked them, what's an example of a top secret SCI classified document? They said, well, that would include things like nuclear secrets. And that's how the rumor got started. You and I talked, I don't know, 3 months ago, saying that Trump would never take that kind of stuff. He wasn't interested in taking stuff that had value. He certainly would never sell it overseas. That's not what this was about. I think the stories are coming out that he kept stuff that he liked. They're saying it's ego, not money. I get that with Donald Trump. But it was never about nuclear secrets. And I wish that the left-wing press would come out now and admit to everybody they were just lying 3 months ago.
Yeah, and, that was clearly an effort to shift the balance of politics going into the midterms and everything else. Who knows if that helped at all. But now the GOP has flipped the House, and we can both say, adiosi Pelosi. She has announced she's going to the back bench, as we say in Australia. But this is also the woman who famously said we had to pass the health care bill to find out what's in it. Mick, talk to us about Nancy Pelosi and her legacy and what that means, for the last many years she's been in power, and who are the Republicans going to replace her with?
Yeah, I'll give you my personal take on Nancy. And it's personal, right? Because I've known her. I worked with her I was in Congress for 6 years. I worked with her for 3 years when I was in the White House. She's a mean person. She just is. She's a nasty person. There's plenty of Democrats that I like and could go to dinner with and get along with, but she would seek out sort of conflict. She would insult you on purpose. She would yell at you. She would demean you. She was just a nasty person. And I'll be curious to see if the next generation of Democrat leadership comes into office with that same sort of attitude, that same combativeness. Listen, is Washington full of people who fight? Yeah, but when the cameras go off, oftentimes those people will go to dinner together. They're on good terms. They're ordinary people. Nancy was nasty all of the time, and we'll try and see what happens when this new leadership comes in. I want them to fight for their beliefs. I get all of that. I want them to be advocates. I get all that. But there's no reason to be demeaning and just rude. Patience and courtesy is free, and Nancy was never free with it. That's for sure.